It is Thanksgiving week, and usually during this week, people are thinking about and talking about what they are grateful for and what they are thankful for. And I am here to tell you that you don't need to wait until Thanksgiving week to think about and talk about what you are grateful for. There is immense power and energy and momentum that can be built by using gratitude consistently. And so today I want to give you a phrase that has a totally different meaning if you are at the airport this week for Thanksgiving week, but I want you using this phrase in your everyday life. See something, say something. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the What If It Works podcast. This is episode 69. I am your host, Ann Vogt. I am a culture coach and motivational speaker here to help you stay in that positive mindset, think about the future, take action, and build momentum, not just for yourselves, but so that you can positively impact people around you. And I'm excited for today. You heard in the intro, see something, say something. This is something I've added to my presentations because we talk about being grateful. We talk about telling your workers and your team how much you appreciate them, right? But there is so much power in saying it when you see it instead of waiting for an end of the month meeting, waiting for the weekly staff meeting. I still want you sharing what you've seen throughout the week at those weekly meetings or sharing what you've seen throughout the month at those monthly meetings. But when it happens, acknowledge it. There is so much benefit for you to say it as you see it because it is going to stick in the person's mind who took the action so much more than if you appreciate me a week later. And so today, let's talk about see something, say something, when to use it, how to use it, and how it can impact your business. Let's actually start there. How can gratitude and your words of appreciation truly start to shift a culture? Number one, I believe that we have an epidemic going on in the workplace right now, which is we assume that people feel valued at our place of work because we've told them, good job, way to go, or I appreciate you in passing. And what I want us to do is get so intentional. The moment you see something, the moment you hear something, that's when I want you to give appreciation. Now, if you've listened to my other trainings or you've listened to other podcast episodes, I talk about giving space after a situation. And that is when that situation has negative emotions tied to it. Absolutely give that situation space before sitting down and debriefing the situation and talking about moving forward. But when you see something good, say it right then and there. Now, I'm going to transfer this to the classroom really quick because I felt like that's where I was using this most often. And that looked like me asking them to do a task and them doing it and me saying, wow, that took you less than 30 seconds to organize your desks into groups. Thank you so much for doing that so quickly, right? Then they get to work. Halfway through them working, it is quiet. They're all engaged. They're working as a team. And I just might say, hey, real quick timeout. Listen to the volume in the room. You guys are working so well together. And I just want you to know that I'm really proud that you are taking your education seriously and taking this group project seriously. And I just wanted to say that real quick. Get back to work. Thank you so much. Right? And then at the end of the hour, they move their desks back and I would say, wow, ladies and gentlemen, can I just tell you how much I enjoy watching you engage with each other in a positive way, work together to learn something new, and produce something that you are proud of together? Today was an incredible day. I can't wait for tomorrow. That was in a 35, 40-minute time span. But if I waited till Friday to talk about how they worked in groups on Monday and Tuesday, it would not have sunk in. They would have been like, you say that to everybody. But when it's in the moment, it is authentic, it is raw, it is vulnerable, and it is timely. And that feels really good. And so I want you thinking about when you are walking around the office, when you are in a staff meeting and someone brings up a new idea that you have not thought of, and you just take a moment to say, man, thank you, Erica, for bringing that forward. I really appreciate you thinking outside the box and helping us solve this problem. That's what we need more of. That is how you get more momentum at work. That is how you get Erica suggesting creative ideas more often, because you appreciate it in the moment. They feel good about it and you feel good about it. Now, it's Thanksgiving week. Let's talk about how you can be doing this on a regular basis in your own homes. When you see positive things, say it out loud. I had a funny one from yesterday. I didn't think I was going to add this into the podcast, but guys, I have to. Yesterday morning, I wake up, I go into the bathroom, and next on top of the toilet paper roll is the old toilet paper roll with a couple sheets of toilet paper, right? And then a full toilet paper roll has been added to the holder the correct way. I know this could cause some controversy, but I believe that the next sheet needs to fall downward, not behind. This is what I learned while I was a cashier at Hy-Vee when I was 15, which is this is how receipts go, where the paper falls under, not how toilet paper goes, which the paper falls over the top. Anyways, here I am, not only realizing that someone replaced the toilet paper roll, but also that they did it before it ran out. I was so pumped. I laughed out loud and was just like, wow, this is great. Later that day, my husband comes home, and he's been coming home before our kids get out of school. So it's just the two of us. And I said, hey, this morning, did you replace the toilet paper roll? And he's like, yeah, because the other one was about out. And I was like, I just want you to know that made my morning. Realizing that it was about to run out and you taking the time to just quickly grab a new one, it really made my morning. I just really appreciate that. I find myself having to do that task a lot. And so knowing that you were being proactive, just it really made me happy. Thanks. And he's like, man, if replacing the toilet paper roll can make you that happy, like, what the heck, Ann? And I just chuckled because it's so true. The littlest things can make us happy, but if the people in our lives don't know that, they won't continue to do it. Now, the reason I wanted to do this episode and why it was so pertinent this week is my son, who's 10, has been just exuding these really kind gestures. Like, I'm tearing up talking about it, but these really kind, thoughtful gestures. And, you know, through our 12 years of having Ella, our 12-year-old, she has always been, from day one, like 2 years old, she was always this very thoughtful individual. And so we kind of like said, that's Ella, and then here's Landon, right? And he's different than she is. And this week, I have just been noticing how thoughtful this young man is. He's been starting to get in the car and ask me about my day. The other day, Ella did an activity at school where she went to the fourth graders and read a story that she had written. And Landon happens to be in fourth grade. And so they were talking about it all week that, you know, oh, next week I get to do my story for your grade and things like that. And so that morning I said, oh, like this will be really fun. I can't wait to hear about it. So after school, Landon comes out and I said, hey, did you get to hear Ella's story? He's like, yeah. And it was really good. But I don't know if any other fourth graders like went to her station. It might have just been me. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, did that happen to a lot of people? He's like, well, yeah, because the numbers were off. And so I made sure to go to her station first. I was like, oh, that's so kind, right? Anyways, Ella gets in the car moments later and he says, hey, Ella, did a lot of fourth graders hear your story? And she's like, not really, because the numbers were off. And he's like, yeah, I noticed that. And then I said, how'd it go, Ella? And she's like, it was good. I got a 5 score. And I said, oh, what's that? And Landon's like, I gave you that. And I said, oh, a 5 out of 10? And Landon's like, no, a 5 out of 5. Mom, her story was really good. And Ella was just in the back, like smiling. And it was just this beautiful moment of my son not just going through the motions like, oh, I went to my sister's station and I had to listen to her story, but he was like proud of her. And then he was thoughtful enough to go score her story and to do it in such an awesome way. And then make a point to say like she deserved a 5 out of 5. It was just so thoughtful. Now, in the moment, I did not want to point that out. And so I waited. We always get out. Ella always gets the mail and we drive up. And so as we were in the car by ourselves, I was like, hey, that was really kind of you to say that about your sister. And he's like, well, it was true. And I'm like, I know, but you didn't have to say it, and you did. And that makes people feel really good. And I'm just really proud of the young man that you are. And it was just this beautiful reminder of like, when you see something, say something. I could have walked in the house and gotten back to work and completely ignored the fact that my child was being so kind to his sister and so thoughtful about her and, you know, what she had done that day. And so make sure when you see something, say something. I hear from so many moms and so many parents that parenting is hard and the version of their kids that they're seeing is not what they want to be seeing. Well, when you see what you want to be seeing, point it out, because I think kids are kind of like out there with like trial and error. They're just trying to figure out who they are. They're trying to figure out what gets them attention. They're trying to figure out what their parents appreciate. They're trying to figure out what triggers their parents. They are trying to figure it out. And so the more that you can use direct communication to tell them, this is what I see and this is what that tells me. This is what I see and this is who you are. This is what I see and this is how that's helpful. They are going to be able to understand that this is something that allows other people to value their actions, right? And we want to validate that the actions they're taking are incredible and helpful and supportive or creative, right? And we really want to build them up for the people that they are. So I'm not saying fit them in a box. I'm saying open up your eyes to who your children are, to who your husband is, to who that worker is that is just not giving you their all, and really recognize them for who they are and what they do bring to the table instead of looking at their deficiencies. When you see something, say something. The benefits of this is it grows self-esteem. It grows self-confidence. And what do we know about people with high self-esteem and high confidence? They are willing to try and fail. They are willing to set the bar high and believe that they can win. This is what we want for people, to be authentically themselves. I think I've talked about this in another podcast, but I'm going to bring it up here. There was a study done where people were put into two groups. One of them can act naturally, act how you normally would, laugh when you normally would, cry when you normally would, while they watched a movie. And the other group had to keep all their emotions in, and they just had to sit and watch. And then afterwards, they had to solve a series of, tests and do a series of actions. And the group that couldn't be themselves had a hard time thinking for themselves. They were frozen in fear of doing the wrong thing. And the group that could be authentically themselves were more creative. They overcome challenges. They did things faster. They had momentum. And so when we can see something and say how incredibly grateful we are for that thing, or that we recognize this about that person, that helps them be more authentically themselves. And when they are more authentically themselves, they build their own personal momentum. If you are trying to fit your team, trying to fit your family in a box and force them to be what you want them to be, they are going to be slower in reaction. They are not going to be able to get creative and think outside the box to problem solve. They are going to be waiting for direction, and there is going to be a lack of momentum. And so what if this works? What if throughout the holiday season that has literally started, right, today, that you are seeing something and saying something, that you are showing gratitude, that you are giving value and helping people understand their worth and their purpose here. And you are saying it in a way that builds people up, builds up their confidence and their self-esteem. What if it works? You are going to see and feel and hear momentum. And when you can do that during a difficult season like the holiday season, when stress is a little high, budgets are a little tight, and people are a little more focused on themselves, if you could be helping them show up authentically for who they are, just think of what you are doing to build momentum going into 2025. I want to hear from you. Does this sound like something you can do? Drop a comment here on Spotify, or if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, jump on over to the Facebook page, Impact to Influence, and comment on this specific podcast episode's graphic and say, I can do this. I can do this. This is something that takes little to no time. It just takes a little bit of intentionality, and it will be a game changer. I am so grateful for all of you who are listening, who are sharing the podcast, who are talking about the content in this podcast with your friends or your family. This is how we create positive change with other people. It's by having positive conversations and talking about growth and talking about being authentically ourselves so that we can see our own momentum. And you are doing that by listening today, taking action, and sharing this with other people. And I could not be more grateful for you. Have an incredible Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday season coming up if you are listening to this in real time. And come back here in the month of December, because we are going to keep this positive mindset train rolling. Like I said, when there is a little bit of stress in the air, keep going out there and creating change.